the Montreal Screwjob. Now I know, Brett has
That
talked about.
wasn't a that wasn't a Survivor Series, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, 20 what? Yeah, 20 years ago. A couple weeks ago. 20 years ago it's
Wow.
been. Yeah. So we all know
Well,
what happened.
that's something that's so that's something that the Montreal screw job, of course, has become world famous, and so it just kind of supersedes the fact that it happened at a Survivor Series event.
Yeah. We all know what happened. Obviously, Bret Hart was going to WCW, and Vince was scared that Bret was going to take the title of the WCW. So Bret didn't want to lose in his home country. So therefore, Vince, quote unquote, screwed Bret, and Earl Hebner was involved, and Shawn put him in the sharpshooter. We all know what happened. I mean, it's been talked about for the last 20 years to on end. But King, you had a good seat for all, what was happening with that.
I was calling the match.
I'm sure that was one moment that you had no idea what was going to happen, or did you?
No, absolutely, I had no idea. And the most memorable thing that stands out in my mind, there are a few things that, to me, over my career, that I just can't get that image out of my mind. But was I was standing right next to Vince when, after the decision was made and the bell was rang and everything, Bret Hart came over and he just went and hawked up this biggest loogie ever and spit it, and it went right into Vince's eye. And I mean, I almost barfed. It was like such a gross thing. Vince just reached up with the thing. It took 4 fingers to dig that thing out of his eye, and it was just like, ugh. I'll never forget that. And then, of course, I think then back in the dressing room a little bit after, I saw Vince wiping that out of his eye, and I'm just like grossed out. And then the next time I saw Vince, he's coming down the hallway, and he'd been punched, and had been punched by Bret in the eye. Yeah. So it was I had no clue that any of that was going to happen.
What was just as a reaction of one of the guys, part of WWE, and this was going on, and the guys going to WCW, but this event kind of, we talked about Vince, being heel Mr. McMahon, and this is kind of the event that a lot of people think of. Well, this is what started, heel Mr. McMahon, after that. But just as a guy that was working for WWE, I mean, what was your view on what was going on at the time when this all was going down?
Honestly, I
didn't care. Did your job and went home, or did you not?
That was pretty much my situation.
Yeah,
I kind of did my job. I didn't hang around afterwards. I didn't talk to a lot of the people that was involved in that. I know that it became a bigger deal over the years. It's like the old saying, the older we get, the better we were. I mean, at the time, it was a big deal, but it has become legend, over time. That I think, that a lot of the guys said, wow, they screwed Bret, but then I think the way it was looked at was, well, it was almost better to do that than to have him jump ship and show up like happened with some of the championships with him with the title in another company. So it was almost accepted and understood by a lot of the guys after that.
Yeah, very. In Canada, I mean, Shawn Michaels would get major heat even years after that. Any shows in Canada.
Yeah,
and I remember even before, Bret went back to WWE. They would they would play his music, like faking like he was going to come out, and Shawn would start laughing, say, "I got you," and just getting. I have never heard that booing in the Canadian crowd for Shawn Michaels, and I'm sure even to today, he probably gets. Even though they've kissed and made up, Bret and Shawn, I'm sure Shawn gets some kind of flack for that. For the Montreal.
Oh, there are a lot of Canadians that will take that to their grave, that they will never forgive Shawn Michaels or Vince McMahon for that. And I'm not sure. You almost have to look back and see if that wasn't the beginning of the tradition that bad things would happen to you if you worked in the WWE whenever you wrestled in your hometown.
Yeah. Or even a Survivor Series. There seemed to be a little bit of a screw, not as big as the Montreal Screwjob, but little screw jobs along the way at Survivor Series. So it becomes expected that something screwy is going to happen at Survivor Series.
Right.
Each and every year.